right, here we are. We're heading into early May of 2024. Thank you for joining me. I'm Tom Novak with Novak Weather. This is your Adisseo and Novak Weather 30-day outlook now for May. And of course, we like to look at the drought monitor here. This is the latest drought monitor that was released on May 2nd. Just a couple of things to point out. You can see that we still have dry conditions over much of the southern plains into the portions of the desert southwest, and I'm also keeping a close eye on this area up here in Iowa, southeastern Nebraska and Kansas, along with northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, because still some lingering drought issues in these areas. But the good news is that there's been plenty of precipitation lately in this area right here, so drought conditions are being alleviated in those areas. In fact, they may be almost gone as we get towards the end of May. The rest of the country, especially the eastern half of the country, plenty of soil moisture for the most part across the United States. Now, when we zoom out and look at North America and we're able to see southern Canada here, look at the drought conditions over much of southern Canada. Now, this has been a prolonged drought in portions of southern Canada, but the good news is that I am expecting Gulf of Mexico moisture to surge north and then back northwest into southern Canada. So areas such as Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta, especially the southern sections of those provinces, are likely going to get a break here as far as the drought is concerned, as we get some much needed moisture in those areas during the month of May. Okay, here's the jet stream structure. Of course, this is the River of Air at 30 to 35,000 feet. We're looking at the European computer model guidance, and we're looking at the first week or two here of May. And just one thing of note that's really important here is look at how the jet stream structure is flowing from southwest to northeast across the United States and southern Canada. This produces a battle zone right here over the central sections, or the heart of North America, and that stays in place through at least through the first half here, or the first week of May. Now, when we continue to go further into the middle portions of May and look at the jet stream structure, here it is, and look at this impressive storm even as we get into the May 8th through 10th time frame that develops over a good chunk of central in northern sections of the U.S. and southern Canada. So this is a stormy weather pattern for the most part, and it stays in place into mid-May. So that's one of the reasons why I'm expecting plenty of moisture over a good chunk of the United States, especially the heart of the United States, and into southern Canada. Now, when we look at temperatures in the lower layers of our atmosphere during that time frame, and I had mentioned to you about the clash of air masses, here it is as we get into early May. Cooler air, much cooler air over the northwestern sections of the U.S. and portions of southern Canada. And then here's that warm air. This is Gulf of Mexico air over the southern and eastern sections of the United States. Now, watch what happens as we go through time. That cooler air just sticks and kind of stays in place over much of the northern and northwestern sections of the U.S. and southern Canada. And meanwhile, a strong ridge of high pressure is anchored over the southeastern U.S., and that pumps up warm Gulf of Mexico air into the heart of the United States and portions of southern Canada. And there's that impressive storm system that just kind of sits and spins over northern sections of the U.S., hence the reason why it's likely going to be quite wet over a good chunk of the northern plains, upper Midwest, and even into the central portions of southern plains. And even as we get into mid-May, here it is, we still have that clash of air masses with cooler air over the central and northern portions of the U.S., and there's that persistent area of warmth and likely some dry air over the southeastern U.S. Eventually, this pattern is going to change. I'm going to show you that here as we look way into the second half of May. This is the European computer model guidance. These are the heights. These are areas of inclement weather in blue, and then the yellow and orange areas are usually ridges in the atmosphere. Now, this is the middle portions of May here, and you can see we still have that pattern of southwest to northeast running jet stream across the United States. Now, as we get into the latter half of May, you can see a transition where we get the lowering heights, and this would mean a trough probably is going to develop over the eastern sections of North America. So this would be a pattern shift during the second half of May, which would eventually lead to warmer and drier air over the western sections of North America, and then a trough eventually over the eastern North America. But that remains to be seen. That would be in sharp contrast from the first half here of May as we get into the second half of May. And looking at the temperatures, you get the same idea here. The first half of May, it's cold, cool or cold over western sections of North America. And look at all this warmth over the southeastern sections and eastern sections of the United States. And then as we get into that second half of May, here's that big change. And again, we'll see if this happens, but this would be cooler air finally over the eastern U.S. as warmer air starts to develop with a ridge over the western sections of North America. Okay, let's just take a quick look now at the Novak Weather and Adisseo temperature outlook here for the month of May. Again, there's going to likely be a difference between the first half of May and second half of May, but in general, I'm expecting cooler than average air over western sections of North America and warmer than average air over the eastern sections of North America. And in between, you get this battle zone, and that is what would eventually create some significant precipitation. And I show you that here on the national precipitation outlook. Here it is. Wet from southern Canada on south into the northern and central sections of the U.S., especially the heart of the United States. So that's good news for those of you that are experiencing some drought conditions here in southern Canada and in central portions of the United States, as I'm expecting the drought to be alleviated in many of those areas. And look at this, dry over large sections of the southeastern United States. And last but not least, here's your drought monitor. And these are just areas that I'm expecting to have decreasing drought conditions or increasing drought conditions. And yes, I'm expecting much of the southeastern U.S. to have increasing drought issues. Meanwhile, southern Canada and a good chunk of the heart of the United States will likely decrease as far as the drought is concerned, which is great news for those areas that are experiencing long-term drought conditions. All right, that's your 30-day outlook. Thank you for joining me. Take care. We will talk to you next month.